Yeah, we're continuing chapter 35 today. Last week, we started touching on the concept of the fire being godly light, the wick being our body, and the oil or the wax candle is the mitzvot. And today so we just introduced that, and we're going to expand on this today. And it's going to be very interesting because we're going to see why the mitzvot are necessary. And it's not enough to just feel it in the heart, the connection with God. Okay. So it's going to be really powerful, and I hope you take it in. Okay, so we tell about the two souls that met each other. One soul was going up, like he passed away, so he finished in this earth. He's going up, and the other one is going down, and they meet midway. And one asked the other, so the one coming down is like, so how is it down there in this world? And he says, it's amazing. With a few pennies, like whatever, with a few dollars, you can do the mitzvah of mezuzah and connect to Hashem. So the one coming down says, oh, that sounds amazing. And the other one says, yeah, but until you get those few dollars, your neshama is going up. So that's a joke so far. And now, seriously speaking, we have a question. Who's closer to Hashem? The neshama that's up there in the world of truth, or the mezuzah that's down here in the world of lies? Which one is? Mezuzah. Mezuzah. So you think that there's something about here that's higher, but if it's all about our soul. So that's a little bit of what we're going to see. Okay, so logically you're going to say the soul is like, that's Hashem, that's holy, that's the best you can be, close to Hashem up there. Okay, it sounds amazing. And it also says that Elokai neshama, like Hashem gave us this neshama that's pure and holy, and like that's the best that can be. So you can't compare that to a mezuzah that's here made out of a cow's skin. Like a piece of parchment hanging on a wall. But let's continue the dialogue between the two souls. And the neshama that's coming down is saying, so what's a mezuzah? So he says, you know what? You take a dead cow, you take out the skin, you make, like, you work it and make it like all flat until you get a piece of parchment, and then you create ink from plants, and then there's a scribe that needs to write certain verses inside on the parchment. So the neshama coming down is like, seriously, like skin of a cow? That's what you guys do down there in this world of lies? So this really brings to us a very serious question that many ask. Why it's not enough to be a Jew at heart, and why is it so important? Why are the mitzvot so important, and why do we come down here to do mitzvot? If it's all about our soul, then let it stay there next to God. There's something about our mitzvot that can reach something that the neshama doesn't reach. Okay, everybody, like, it's a thing that all of us in this room feel sometimes. I'm a Jew. Of course, I have a piece of Hashem inside my heart. Like we said that we have a godly soul. We have a piece of Hashem inside of us, where Hashem gave us a pure neshama. We're for sure connected to Hashem. Like, and if I use my words and I think about Hashem and I talk to Hashem, of course I'm connected to Hashem. Why? Why is it that I need like an extra mitzvah? Like I'm literally inside on a very deep way connected to God. And it's not just for non-religious people, even religious people that keep Torah mitzvot, like even a tzaddik. Okay, a tzaddik can say, I have such a holy neshama. Why do I need these mitzvot that are limited to a piece of parchment or to a candle and lighting candle? Like, if I'm a tzaddik and I'm so pure and so holy already and I'm so close to God, who needs those technical mitzvot that are like seemingly so low? Right, so it's like it's applicable to everybody.
Because he doesn't.
Okay, so we'll see today.
I said maybe
he's a tzaddik because he does mitzvot.
Oh.
But the tzaddik has such a holy soul, and he also doesn't have the Yetzer Hara. He doesn't have the animalistic soul. He won. He's already he won the war. What does he need to do anymore? Like he's good. He feels great. like he feels in a very close place. So we need to understand today what is the difference between the soul and the mitzvot, between the neshama and the mitzvot. And then why is it important? Why do we have to do the mitzvot in order to connect to Hashem? So it's a very, very interesting class. I just want to mention also something very interesting. You know that when we go to a cemetery, like the men that wear tzitzit, there's one of the customs they do, they have to hide the tzitzit inside their pants, like it shouldn't be sticking out. Why? Because we shouldn't show off to the dead people that we can do a mitzvah and they can't. Like it's a real it's a real thing. Just wanted to bring out what I to say further what I was saying. Anyway, so we need to go back to understand all this. We need to go back to we're gonna go and understand it, and we need to go back to the analogy that the Alter Rebbe brought from the Kabbalah, from the Zohar, that talks about the candle, of how it's made. And he said, and we said that the body, I said it already, but anyways, the body of a person is the wick. And the godly light, the Shekhinah, is the fire, that wants to go up, that's like always shaking, etc. But our mitzvot are the oil or the wax that's making constantly that's making the wick make a fire.
So in order to have a godly light, we need the mitzvot.
We need the mitzvot. But the question now is like this. Why is it? Who said, like, why is he saying that the oil is the mitzvot? Maybe the oil can be the neshama. Why can't the oil be the neshama? If my neshama is working all the time and connected and inspired and connected to God, then I'm fueling the fire. It's great. And then I have the godly light residing in me. No, there's a light. No, we have a fire that's being fed by the oil. What is the oil? Who said that the oil has to be mitzvot? Maybe the oil can be the neshama.
Neshama is supposed to be going like the fire.
Yeah, but if the neshama, if you say I'm a Jew, I'm connected in my heart to God.
It's infinity.
Maybe that's enough. Maybe who says, like, let's understand why that's not enough to say my neshama, me, I'm connected to God in my heart, and that's enough to have the godly light residing within me.
I don't know why. Because you wouldn't have you're gonna be eternal. We couldn't keep the Masorah going if it was based on that.
Okay, so it enables Jewish continuity, but we're gonna see it today on a deeper level.
Okay,
like the Alter Rebbe is literally going inside and gonna really logically explain this. Okay, so we're gonna try to really understand what is a neshama and what is mitzvot, and what does it mean that Hashem's Shekhinah resides over here, like rests in the person. And then we're gonna understand why the mitzvot are the oil. Like, why can't the oil be? The goal, like the flame, the goal is that Hashem is down here inside of us, to bring Hashem's light down here in this world, right?
That's what the mitzvahs do.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay.
The goal is that Hashem's light is revealed down here, right? That Hashem resides down here, and it's a godly world that I live with Hashem. Why isn't it enough that my soul does it? Why do I need the mitzvot specifically? So let me ask you, what is it? So we need to understand. We're gonna continuing to go deeper and deeper. What makes the oil into something that can make a fire? What is the precondition for the oil to make a fire, or for the thing that will make the fire to make a fire? Basically, you need to have something that's consumable, something that disappears. Because if you have, if you put, instead of the oil, you're gonna put
Vinegar.
not vinegar, but imagine you put a rock. Imagine you put a rock. Imagine you put something or you put iron, like whatever, like metal. Metal won't, like, it will never consume. It's gonna stay so strong that it won't make a fire. You need something that turns into fire. Like the oil actually becomes the fire. The candle, like the wax, is what feeds the fire, and then it disappears slowly because it's becoming the fire, right? You see that transformation of the oil into the fire? The wick doesn't change. The wick stays there. If you add more oil, the wick can stay there, and it stays very down here, strong, has a strong base. But the oil needs to be something that's going to be consumable, that's something that's going to be disappearing, basically, or not disappearing, but it's going to be consumed by the fire. It's going to become the fire. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have here is we're saying that the weak is the body. The body is going to always be here, very strong. Okay, but the mitzvot are going to turn into the godly light. Okay, you need like or whatever, in order to have it's not the mitzvot, sorry, whatever is the thing that's going to make the fire needs to be something that's consumable, something
Like
that's
what?
going to be absorbed, something that's going to be going into the fire. It can't be, so should it be the neshama or the mitzvot that we're going to see soon, but it needs to be something that's consumable, something that becomes the fire. Okay, but the body is the weak, it's very nice. Okay, so it needs to be something that is nullified. The oil is something that's nullifying itself. It can't be something that's fully present and is gonna have a very strong existence and resistance. If the oil is strong and resistant, there's gonna be no fire. You need something that's ready to be consumed, that's submitting himself, having the bitul in order to be able to, you must have the bitul in order to have the fire. Okay, so that oil needs to be something that doesn't have an existence of its own, but is ready to be consumed. Is that clear? That's the oil. So now let's figure out if that could be the neshama, that consumable thing. So what is a neshama? Like, how are we going to know if the neshama has an existence of its own or it can be consumable? Like, maybe the neshama can be the oil. That's what we're looking. Why it can be the neshama or the mitzvot? Why does it have to be the mitzvot? So let's see if it could be the neshama. Is the neshama something that can be consumable? So let's look at what a neshama is. The main, like, one of the expressions of the neshama is the fact that we love God. It's ahavat Hashem, the fact that we love God. So somebody that loves somebody, is he nullified himself to the person that he loves? Is he submitting himself to the person that he loves?
Not always. Yeah.
Not necessarily, because when you say I love you, there's the I first. I love you. There's the I, and there's something that I like, right? It's not necessarily that it's like I'm gonna do anything for you because I love you and I'm completely submitting myself. There's still, when you love somebody, you have to be there. You have to have an existence. You can't love someone and not exist.
You love your kids and you are,
You do things for them,
yeah,
but you still have to take care of yourself. You still have to. There still has to be like,
but they are more than you.
they're more than you, but you have to be existence. You have to have an existence. You can't be completely
If I'm
nullified.
existence, I'm not going to
Yeah, you
kids.
can't be there for them.
They
If you're
can
not
use my
existent,
kids as well.
exactly. If you're non-existent, you can't be there for anyone. You need to be existent. Okay. Okay. Sometimes even when you love someone, you're still gonna do things that the person that you love doesn't like. Like, you're not necessarily gonna always be completely submitted to the person that you love. Sometimes you're gonna do things that they don't like. Sometimes you're even gonna be distancing yourself from that person. Like, you're not, there's still a very big me over here when you love someone. Okay. Now, when you love somebody, in order to really love him, you need to basically really, like, if you want to, like, you need to add another ingredient. You need to also do what he wants. That's going to add a lot to the dimension of the love, right? Like, you're doing what he wants. He asks something, even if you don't like doing it, you're going to still do it. He tells you, bring me a cup of coffee. Even if you're tired, you're going to go bring it. And then you're developing those love feelings, etc. But even that love, it's still the will of the person that loves. Even if I'll do something for you because I love you, there's still me there that's doing it because I want to. Okay. No. So when you're doing something for the other person, that's the will of him. But but the fact that I'm loving him, that's still me loving, me choosing to love him. It's still my choice and still me. You see that there's the me over here. So if you really, really want to go to the highest level of love, you have to completely submit yourself to the person that wants something and do what he wants completely, like, without asking questions. Okay. Now it's the same thing with the neshama. Okay. The neshama likes Hashem. The neshama loves Hashem. Okay. Like, you can have even somebody that like the Alter Rebbe is going to describe here, the person that loves Hashem with highest form of yearning, like he really, really, really is there. But at the same time, it's still the neshama that loves Hashem. It's still there's still something about the neshama still exists, okay, and he can still do things that are not necessarily what Hashem wants. Sometimes he will want to get close to Hashem, but sometimes not. The neshama is still extremely existent. So so do you think that the neshama can be, based on all this, do you think the neshama can be that oil that disappears, that gets completely consumed, completely? Like that, it doesn't fit together. Like there's too much of an existence to the neshama that wants to love Hashem. Okay, you understood? It's the same idea as loving. So we're gonna see this in the Tanya, and you're gonna see how the Alter Rebbe is gonna continue with this example of this candle, and he's gonna say why. He's gonna ask the question, why can't the oil be the neshama? Why is the oil the mitzvot? And he's gonna explain that the neshama is an existence of its own. And that's why, and in order to be the oil, you need to have complete nullification to Hashem, complete, like total nullification. You need to completely not exist.
The oil is still oil, and it becomes.
But it gets consumed slowly but surely, and it's gone. When there can't be fire without oil.
Right.
The oil becomes the fire, and once there's no more oil, there's no more fire, and the fire is fed by the oil completely. The oil needs to submit itself completely. If he exists, and if he's imagine that the oil transforms into a rock or into something that's not consumable, it can't bring Hashem's light. It can't bring the fire. It needs to be something consumable. So he says that. So you're gonna see. He's gonna say even someone that loves Hashem with the highest yearning of love to Hashem, that's still the personal will of the tzaddik. It's still the person wanting to do that, and it's not. It's even at that highest level. It's not a complete self-nullification. It's not. So let's look inside. Okay, great. Okay. So I'm in the middle of the page here. The meaning of this analogy, comparing the light to the Shekhinah, to the light of a candle, is clear to every intelligent person, as the Alter Rebbe will conclude shortly after a closer examination of its details, just as it is true of the candle's flame, that it does not shed light, nor is it retained by the wick without oil. Similarly, the Shekhinah does not rest upon man's body, which is compared to a wick, except through man's performing good deeds. So he's saying like it must be the Hashem's light can only be done through mitzvot. And it's not enough to have a neshama. It is evident from the Zohar, however, that one soul, although a part of God above, is insufficient to serve as the oil for the wick. Okay, the neshama cannot be that oil. But the reason for this, the Alter Rebbe now concludes the sentence begun earlier with the words, the meaning of this analogy is clear and understandable to every intelligent person. He says, if you think about it, if you're smart, you're going to get it. For the soul of a man, even if he be a perfect tzaddik, who serves God with fair and with pleasurable love, okay? His love consists of delighting in the experience of godliness, a most lofty form of love, is nevertheless not utterly nullified out of existence, so that it might be dissolved into and absorbed within God's light to be merged with it in perfect unity. It can be completely merged, can be completely nullified. It is rather a separate entity which fears God and loves him. Since it is not absorbed with godliness, as oil is absorbed within a flame, the soul cannot serve as oil for the light of the Shekhinah. Okay? And now we're going to understand what the mitzvot are, and we're going to understand why the mitzvot fit that category. But before that, I want to share a story. There was a rich man that was very rich, and then things happened and he lost all his money. Like, the wheel turns around, and he was really, really upset. He goes to the Alter Rebbe and he complains. It's like, why is this happening to me? Why do I deserve this? What did I do wrong? And basically what he really wanted was a blessing for him to get back his money. And but if you think of it, not necessarily what Hashem wants from him now is to be rich and give tzedakah. Maybe now he has a different mission. But this man is very with his own existence, like he's and the Alter Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe was thinking on this, and he said to him, You're thinking about what you want, but you forgot to think why you're needed. Like you're thinking about what you, like, you're thinking about what you are, but it's not about you. It's about, like, there's a higher purpose over here. And when this person heard it, he fainted. And we'll explain why. He was so, so inside himself, so focused on himself and on what he wants, that he didn't even think for a minute, what does Hashem want from me? He forgot it. Like, it's all about what I want. And what's the difference between what you want and what you're needed for? So when you say what you want, is very selfish. It's egoistic. Okay, it's basically the animalistic soul saying, what do I want? But when you say, what am I needed for, it's the godly soul speaking. What does Hashem want from me? What am I needed for? Why did Hashem send me here? That's what is Hashem's will. What does Hashem want? But there's another, that's the simple level, but there's another explanation of what's the difference between what you want and what you're needed for, is that even if what you want is completely in line with what Hashem wants, even if you're doing exactly what Hashem wants, like even if you're like completely in line, there's still a problem. It's still around what you want. There's still the big me over here. Even if I'm doing what Hashem wants, it's me wanting to do what Hashem wants. And it's not talking about what does Hashem want. Like, it's all about the perspective. Is it what I want to do or what Hashem needs me to do? And that's that transition is huge. And that's why the man fainted. It's like it had to really go from a place of like me being here and me not being here. Like, like it's me being nullified completely. So you need to really reach that, like whatever. It's about reaching that place or understanding the place of complete self-nullification. Okay, so we understood why the neshama can't be the oil. Now let's try to understand what could be the oil. Okay, so let's understand what the mitzvot are and to understand if they can be the oil and why. So every time we say we do a mitzvah, we're saying a bracha before. We're saying Baruch atah Hashem le'pnei melech haolam, blessed Hashem be for giving me the mitzvah, and I'm doing it like like he gave us the mitzvah to do. Okay, so when I do a mitzvah, I'm only doing it because Hashem said so. I'm not doing it because of my will. You're doing the mitzvah. The mitzvah is what Hashem wants. And you're saying it when you do the mitzvah. Hashem said to do this mitzvah. That's why I'm doing this mitzvah. Even all the tiny halachot, you're going to tell me it's not what Hashem wants. It's the sages that added. But I want to just remind you that everything the sages said is really, it's all coming from what's written in the it all has like it all like it goes from the Haronim, the Rishonim, like it goes through a hierarchy that really goes back to the Talmud, to the Mishnah, which was given in the old Torah that was given by Mount Sinai with Moshe Rabbeinu. So really, the whole oral Torah and all the tiny little halachot are all included in the Torah. Like it's all Torah, all the little details of the halacha. Even when you ask a question to a rabbi, the rabbi has the full power. Like he learned all the mitzvot, and when you're asking a question to a rabbi, it's like, what does Hashem want me to do? Like you're trying to figure out what is it based on the Torah that I should do. And the rabbi that learned so much, he will know. And he also has a special power from Hashem to dictate what the person should do. So a mitzvah is literally, we're doing it only because Hashem said so. Anything we do, we're only doing it because of the will of Hashem. My will is non-existent. It's not about me. It's about what Hashem wants. When you do a mitzvah, you're doing it for Hashem completely. Later chapters will completely talk about it. A mitzvah with intention, a mitzvah without intention. We're going to get there. But right now, we're talking a mitzvah versus an action versus my feelings. A mitzvah versus the neshama, okay? That's what we're doing today. Like the Alter Rebbe really goes into everything. Like you see it, and it's all built with a sequence. Anyway, so a mitzvah does not have any existence of its own. You can see that a mitzvah is a complete expression of Hashem's will, completely. So that's why it's corresponding to the oil, okay? Because it gets consumed. It's Hashem. It's right away. As soon as you do a mitzvah, the mitzvah is what Hashem wants. It's right away Hashem. Okay. So let's see this. I'll show this to you in the Tanya, what the Alter Rebbe explains why the mitzvah is not an existence of its own. It's only the will of Hashem. He's going to ask, why is it the mitzvot that are an expression of the will of Hashem and not everything else that happens in the world also. So basically, he's going to explain that everything in the world is hidden. So there's things that you see in a revealed way and things that you see. There's the front and the back. We spoke about it many chapters ago. There's the front, the face, and there's the back. Like when you face to face or back to back. So a lot of Hashem's will is you don't see it in a revealed way. It's in a way of the back. But so the will of Hashem very often is hidden. But by us doing it, the mitzvot is the essence of Hashem. It's the actual inside of Hashem. It doesn't matter front or back. It's the Hashem himself. When you do a mitzvah, you're doing Hashem's will, and then you're revealing completely Hashem's will in the most revealed way possible, because that's what Hashem wants. Okay. Let me go inside. Not so with mitzvot and good deeds, which are God's will, each commandment representing God's desire that a particular act be performed. Now, God's will is the source of life for all the worlds and creatures. They live only because God so desires. The difference between the divine will expressed in mitzvot and that same will as expressed in creation lies in the latter's descending to them by means of many contractions and by concealment of the countenance. The internal aspect of the supernal will with only the external, superficial aspect of God's will expressing itself in creation and through the descent from level to level. Okay. All these steps were necessary so that it would be possible for the worlds and creatures to come into being and to be created ex nihilo as separated entities without becoming nullified out of existence, as mentioned above. Without the previously enumerated forms of concealment of godliness, all created beings would be so completely nullified before the divine will that created them that they would have no independent identity. Thus, the divine will expressed in creation can come about only through its seeming contraction, accumulation, and descent. So this is all the things that are in the world. They look like existing things because Hashem is completely hidden in there. The mitzvot, on the other hand, are the internal aspect of the divine will. There, the countenance is not hidden at all. On the contrary, mitzvot are the underlying purpose, the inner aspect of will of creation and its entirety. Because the mitzvot represents God's true inner will, and because in them there are no concealment of this will, unlike the case in creation, therefore, the godly life force within them is by no means a separate entity. Okay, so the life of Hashem that's in a mitzvah is not an existence of its own. It's completely nullified to Hashem. It's Hashem himself, okay? That it's like the oil that gets consumed in the fire, completely. So I'll share with you two little anecdotes, and we'll analyze the difference between them. It's very interesting to understand this concept, like between the will of a tzaddik and the will of Hashem, like to understand who is it about. So the same Alter Rebbe, he talks about the Alter Rebbe that said, like there's a famous sentence that Alter Rebbe said. He said, I want nothing from you. I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your world. I don't want your future world. I don't want anything. I just want you yourself. That's all I want. Like it's my whole will is you. Okay. And that's that is considered like the highest form of connecting, of like connecting to Hashem. Not, I don't know if it's the right word, connecting, but it's like it's the moment of being with Hashem at the highest level. That's one story, okay? That's one anecdote of like the Alter Rebbe saying, I want nothing but you. And then there's another story of the Alter Rebbe. It was Yom Kippur, and it was in the middle of the prayer in the synagogue. Everybody was praying, and the Alter Rebbe himself took off his talit, closed his siddur, and left the synagogue in the middle. And what ended up happening was that he walked very far to help a lady that just gave birth. Okay, and he cooked for her some food and warmed up the house and took care of her, and like she really needed that help, and so he did what he had to. And so the question is, where do you think the self-nullification is expressed stronger? when he went and helped the lady that just gave birth, or when he says, I want nothing from you, but I want just you. Which one is an expression of complete self-nullification?
Of the lady.
Okay, so you got the point.
Ah.
You got the idea, because it's about doing Hashem's will. Here, when he's praying, when he's saying that's what I want, it's I'm enjoying that moment with you, and it's there's still the me over here, right? It's what I want. But in the story with the lady that gave birth, that he went to help, he completely put aside his will of wanting to be on Yom Kippur and Shul, praying and connecting with Hashem, to do what was needed, to do something that Hashem, to do a mitzvah that was necessary. That's self-nullification. So when you're doing a mitzvah, when you're doing what Hashem wants, sometimes that's even higher. Actually, the book that there's kids' books, there's a lot of books about this story, but the book is called Even Higher. The story of the Alter Rebbe going to help this lady. It's even higher because he's doing what Hashem wants and putting himself completely aside. So to complete the picture, now we need to understand what is this resting of the Shekhinah, what is this flame? Okay, and then we're going to understand even better why it's the mitzvot specifically that are going to be the oil for the flame as opposed to the neshama. So when you look at God, there's a lot of different levels of God. There's a lot of different parts of, there's a lot of parts and expressions of Hashem. There's 7 names to Hashem, and each one expresses something else. There's the 10 faculties. Hashem expresses himself with kindness, with severity, with all these, with all the 10 faculties. Okay, so let's try to understand what is that expression of Hashem that's called Shekhinah. Shekhinah, we're translating into godly light, but there's the word Shekhinah, which is an expression of Hashem when it's resting down here. Okay, so what does Shekhinah mean? So if you look at Hebrew, the word Shekhinah is lishkon, v'shachanti. So it's like I'm dwelling, I'm resting somewhere. Okay, so that's a very interesting level of Hashem, because it's not by itself. When you're resting, when you're dwelling, you have to dwell somewhere or into something. There's a continuation to the sentence. You can't say I'm having a rest, I'm dwelling. You say I'm dwelling in a home, I'm dwelling in a person, Hashem is dwelling into something. So what we see here, and actually the sentence that it says, the pasuk that it says in the Torah, is that v'shachanti b'tocham, Hashem wants to reside within us, literally. Okay, and that dwelling within us, you see that there's it's really Hashem, Hashem is really going down into something. There's it's a certain type of level of Hashem that he's revealing himself into something. Okay, and that's as opposed to another name of Hashem. Just to give you one example, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you say Kadosh, Kadosh is holy. Kadosh means separated. When you say Kadosh, he's all the way up there, very, very holy, and it's not connected to anything. It's not residing into anything. It's holy on its own. But when you're saying Shekhinah, it's a holiness that resides into us, into something. Okay, so now let's go further. When a cup contains water, okay, when something contains something else, the receiver, the container, needs to have room to receive something. Okay, if it's completely sealed or if it's full, you can't get anything inside. Okay, in order to listen to someone, you need to be quiet. Okay, for the cup to be filled, for the cup to receive water, the cup needs to be empty or half empty at least. Okay, for a pipe to run water, the pipe needs to be empty inside. Okay, there has to be a certain emptiness for something to go through. If there's tons of stuff inside the pipe, nothing's going to go through. Okay, you can't pass water. In the words of Hasidut, the same concept. There's the idea of making space to receive something, and that's bitul, hitbatlut, okay, self-nullification. In order to receive Hashem, you need to nullify himself. In order to receive the Shekhinah, you need to have a nullification. You need to create an empty vessel to receive Hashem inside. You you can't be full and say I'm here. There's no room for Hashem. Okay, And the Alter Rebbe adds to it even further. He says that the Shekhinah has even something more. He says it's not enough to make space for it, but you need complete nullification in order to have Hashem reside here inside of me. Like you can't say there's a little bit of me and a little bit of you. Like it doesn't work because Shekhinah or Hashem is Einon Milvado. It means that there's nothing else but Him. Hashem is only Hashem. There's like no other existence. How can Hashem be here if there is another existence? He's not going to come here. If they're like Hashem is an Einon Milvado. So when the Shekhinah comes, the hiddenness is gone. It's complete revelation. You see Hashem completely. I'll give you a very cute example. The king has a crown. And he wears his crown, but now he doesn't want to wear his crown. He wants to take it off to rest because it's very heavy full of diamonds. And he's putting it on a simple hanger, like on a simple hanger. You would say, why a simple hanger? Maybe he should put it on one of his servants. But why is a hanger better than a servant? Because the servant that's going to wear it is going to start to feel important, like he has a certain existence. You're going to put a crown on the servant. The servant is like full of ego over there, like there's an existence. The hanger has no existence. So put a crown on the hanger, you have nothing to worry about. Understand? Like on a completely empty vessel. So a crown needs to go in an empty space. Okay. It says that it talks about like in the sages talk about that a person that is boasting about himself, Hashem cannot reveal himself to him. Like a person that has a lot of let's say gava. It's not boasting.
Proud.
It's not pride.
Pride.
The opposite of modesty, arrogance. Yeah, thank you. Somebody that's arrogant. No. Arrogant. Somebody that's arrogant. It's just a small, tiny difference. Arrogant. Somebody that's arrogant has no room for Hashem to reside in him. The sages talk about it. Like you need to. So let me give you examples from the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem revealed himself to him. He was so close to Hashem. It says that Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble person from all the people, right? Anav Mikol Adam. Moshe Rabbeinu was so, and also it talks about Moshe Rabbeinu that had an issue with his talking. That also represents the fact that he had nullification to Hashem. Like he was nothing. That's how he was able to receive Hashem. It also talks about the prophets that received prophecy from Hashem. When they received the prophecy, their moods were completely confused. Like there was something going on inside. Like Hashem revealed himself in them. They couldn't be completely apathetic to Hashem's revelation. They completely nullified themselves. Like they had to become a nobody. Like, wow, Hashem is here. Like imagine, and go back to the Jews by Mount Sinai. We couldn't like when Hashem came, we nullified ourselves. First of all, we said Naaseh v'nishma, we will do no matter what, whether we understand or not. The first thing we said we're going to do, like we accept, we take it. It's complete nullification. But then our souls couldn't handle it. When Hashem was fully present, we became a nothing. We fainted. We couldn't handle it, right? So that's complete self-nullification to receive Hashem's Shekhinah. Okay? So the Alter Rebbe here is going to conclude over here why the neshama cannot be the oil, and it has to be specifically the mitzvot, because the Shekhinah needs complete nullification to reside. If you want that flame, you need total self-nullification. And with the neshama, there's a big me over there. You need like an absolute self-nullification, as we just explained. So if a person likes Hashem from his whole heart, okay, with his whole soul, even if it's a tzaddik gamor, like even if it's the highest form of a tzaddik, there's a something. There's an existence over there. And that's why his neshama is not the vessel to bring down Hashem's Shekhinah, okay? And it has to, and that's why the neshama can't be the oil. It's the mitzvot that don't have any existence. The mitzvot are completely Hashem's will. Those are the oil that are able to bring Hashem's Shekhinah down. Okay, so let's look at it inside. I hope by now it's clear, that concept. Okay. The resting of the Shekhinah means, he's explaining, Hinyan Hashrat Shekhinah, the dwelling of the Shekhinah means, when we single out a specific object from a world filled with the Shekhinah by saying that divine presence rests upon that object, its uniqueness lies in the revelation of the godliness and the Ein Sof light in that particular object. This means to say that the object is comprised within God's light and is nullified out of existence towards him. It has no separate entity. For only then can the one God rest upon it, upon that object, and reveal himself in it. But anything not completely nullified out of existence towards the godly light cannot have God's light rest and reveal itself within it. It needs to have complete self-nullification, okay? Even a perfect tzaddik, you see, even a tzaddik gamor, he says, even a perfect tzaddik who cleaves to him with abundant love, a most lofty level of love and attachment to God, even in the case of such a tzaddik, no thought can truly grasp him at all. For the true implication of the phrase, God is the true Lord, it is unity and oneness that he alone exists, and there is absolutely nothing beside him. Okay. So here, if so, this person, above mentioned tzaddik, who loves God and who is a separate being in his own self-perception, rather than a non-entity, no thought of his can grasp him at all. Even the tzaddik cannot grasp God and thereby become one with him through the faculties of his own soul. Okay, even a tzaddik with his amazing neshama cannot grasp Hashem. Therefore, Hashem's light does not abide or manifest itself in him except through the fulfillment of the mitzvot, which constitute his actual will and wisdom without any concealment of countenance. Since the inner aspect of the divine will stands revealed only in the mitzvot, it is only by means of them that the light of the Shekhinah rests upon man, not through spiritual devotion alone. It's clear? The spirituality of a person is not enough. You need the mitzvot. Because the mitzvot are the only complete self-nullification. Everything that you say, I like to connect with Hashem, with my heart, or I pray with my own words, or I pray when I want, or when I feel like, or do whatever you want when you feel like, it needs to be the mitzvot of Hashem that are very clearly spelled out in the Torah. We'll talk about it now. Okay. So I'll tell you a very cute story to explain this. There was once the Rashab, the fifth Chabad Rebbe, he told one of the men that he told him, I want you to become a shochet. I want you to become the one that slaughters the animal. I want you to do that. So this man is like, seriously? Like, I don't think I can do it. Like, I'm really scared that I'm going to do something wrong. Like, I don't want to take that responsibility. So the rabbi told him, so who should I ask to be a shochet? Someone who thinks that he's sure of himself and that he's going to be cutting and not worried about anything? I need someone that is worried and is going to make sure to try his best, that has that little bit of nullification, you know, that it doesn't have that strong ego. You are perfect to be the shochet. You understand? Because when it's all about I have all this confidence, it doesn't work. Okay, we'll talk about it soon. Not an example, but it's coming soon. Okay. Now there's the next part of the Tanya is like an explanation of parentheses, but it's very, very interesting. The Alter Rebbe explains that he's going to take the concept that we said that the Shekhinah needs nullification in the words of Kabbalah. Okay, the concept of the Hashem's light residing, okay, needs the complete self-nullification in Kabbalah. So you know that we have 10 faculties, okay? It starts like there's the 3 intellectual faculties and the 7 emotional. The 3 are Chokhmah, Binah, Da'at. Just to remind you, because you're going to need it in a second, Chokhmah is the spark of an idea. Binah is when you fully understand it and take it a little bit like you divide it into specific tasks. And that is when you internalize it completely and take it to action, okay? It starts here and that generates emotions, and there's the 7 emotional attributes, okay? So Hashem has all that. Now it says that Hashem's light comes through those 10, like Hashem's light needs to go through all these 10 spheres. So we would understand that God's light comes through the 10, through those 10. It means that he can express himself through any of those 10. Right? Hashem can express himself in kindness, in severity, in a way of chokhmah, in a way of bina, in a way of that. Hashem can express himself in any of those ways. But the Kabbalah says that the Hashem's Shekhinah must go through chokhmah first. Chokhmah is the highest. Like the first one, he must go through chokhmah. Chokhmah is a necessity. like he's a he's a must. Like he can't just reveal himself somewhere else before the chokhmah. So why does it have to go through chokhmah? Chokhmah, which is like that spark of idea. So let's try to understand what is that light. The light of Hashem is complete, is infinite. It's huge. It's like it's strong. It's powerful. It's massive. And when you take it down to the 10 faculties, it's like narrowing down. It needs to like contract itself and go down into a person. Like, there's a huge contraction happening. So how can this infinite holiness, infinite godly light come down and go into those 10 sfirot? So that's why you need that first one needs to be like that perfect passage for it. Like, like the chokhmah needs to be a good place to start. So what's about this chokhmah? Very interesting. So what do you think what is the ingredient that you need in order for Hashem's infinite light to go down? We just spoke about it. We need bitul. We need like complete self-nullification, complete. And chokhmah does just that. Like, how does chokhmah do complete self-nullification? First of all, the word chokhmah is koach. It's like if you divide it, it's koach ma, which is like we're basically saying that force. What is it? When you say ma, when you're asking a question, that's already a form of nullification. Okay, so like there's a form of asking, like what is it? We're not saying there's nothing here. I'm everything. There's like something coming. What is it? So you're trying to understand. We're going to explain it further. Anyway, so chokhmah represents the concept of bitul, because you must have that nullification in this world to welcome Hashem's light. I told you the vessel needs to be empty. So you need the nullification to welcome Hashem's infinite light. You need that like little cup, that complete empty cup, complete self-nullification. So how does chokhmah do it? It's very, very interesting. So I told you chokhmah is that spark of an idea versus bina, which is when you understand it further, and that is when you take it like all the way inside. So when you understand something very well, are you going to get a new idea? You're blocked, right? To get a new idea, you need to be you need to be empty inside of you. And then there's a new spark of an idea that can come. Like you need to let go of everything in your brain, and then an idea comes. But if you know everything and you're sure of yourself and you already understood everything, you're not going to listen to anyone. You're never going to get a new idea. You're not even open to listen to anything. Like nothing's going to come in. You need to have that emptiness. You need to have that empty vessel, the nullification for chokhmah to come. That's what chokhmah is. Chokhmah is that idea that comes into that empty vessel. There's a very nice, so there's a very perfect example. There was this amazing man. It's a real man. His name is Rabbi Yoel Khan. When the Rebbe would speak in the 770, he would come and like, how do we have all these books of the Rebbe's discourses and everything the Rebbe said, all the sichot? How do we have them? Somebody had to write it. So there was this man, brilliant guy, and he would sit there and listen. And it was on Shabbat many times, and sometimes it was a farbrengen of 6 hours, right? A few hours. And after Shabbat, he would write everything down. And then the Rebbe would go through it and make corrections. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But this guy is brilliant. Like he knows, he understood everything, and he was able to remember it. Okay, a brilliant man. But very interesting when they asked him, how did you manage to like repeat everything word for word when it was so many hours? So he says, when I came to a farbrengen, I came completely empty. I emptied out my brain, so there was room to take everything in. Because if he comes with his own understanding of something, and the Rebbe brings a new understanding, it's hard to take it in and understand it and take it, So he says, I came completely empty. Okay. So, when you have your own ideas, your own memories, or your own stories, it's very hard to receive a new idea. So that's the idea of like, so now you understand how chokhmah is totally connected with nullification. Also, just interesting to tell you that in the Mishnah, it says, what is a smart person? Ezeu chacham? No, ezeu sameach. Ezeu chacham, halomed mikol adam. who is a smart person? A person that learns from everybody. It should say, who is a smart person? A person that learns or that teaches everybody. No, the smart person is somebody that learns from others, somebody that's open to hearing others, somebody that's, welcoming other things. Very interesting. The Rashi, the main commentator of the Torah, of the 5 books of Torah, and also a lot of the Tanakh, Rashi, very often he writes in there, he puts a question and he writes, I don't know the answer. Like he's, it's not like I know everything. Like sometimes there's room to not know. Maybe somebody else can give an idea, And he literally write, like I can show you in the Chumash, like there's Rashi and it says, I don't know the answer. I don't know why. Okay. So I'm going to show this to you now. The Alter Rebbe brings an explanation that he got from his Rebbe, the Maggid of Mezrich. Okay, he says that Hashem's infinite light, okay, needs to first go through Chokhmah. Must go through Chokhmah, the first of the 10 faculties, because the infinite light is Einon Milvado. It's everything. It's humongo. It's there's no other existence. But the only way to get through is through the Chokhmah, which is nullification. This accords with what I heard from my teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich, peace upon him, on the meaning of and the reason behind the statement of the Eitz Chaim that the Ein Sof light, the infinite light, does not unite itself even with the world of Atzilut, except by first vesting itself in the attribute of Chokhmah, wisdom. This is because the Ein Sof is the true one, which means that he alone exists and there is nothing beside him. And this, in fact, is the level of Chokhmah. Okay, you have to have complete nullification that there's nothing beside him. That's the level of Chokhmah. Okay. So to summarize what we learned today, we learned that Hashem's the Shekhinah resting means that Hashem reveals itself into something specific, but it can only Hashem's Shekhinah can only reveal himself into something that's completely nullified, that's completely empty and receiving him. A person, even if he's the biggest tzaddik, he's still an existence of its own. He still has an ego. Even if he's doing whatever, even if he loves Hashem, still has an ego. The mitzvot don't have an existence of their own. Mm-hmm. Okay, the whole existence of a mitzvah is doing what Hashem wants. It's nullifying ourselves to Hashem. That's what a mitzvah is. Okay, that's why it's not enough to have that neshama, that soul connection that we have inside of us. We all have it, okay? It's not enough, okay? The only way to really receive the resting of Hashem's light, the Shekhinah, inside of us, the only way is through doing mitzvot. To receive Hashem's light is Hashem's Shekhinah, and that's why the Zohar says that the oil has to be mitzvot and not a neshama, okay? The mitzvot are the oil, because the mitzvot don't have an existence of their own. The mitzvot are directly doing what Hashem wants and receives Hashem's light. Okay, so we started off by asking ourselves, why is it not enough to be a Jew at heart? It's a very powerful thing. Like, I really want you to think about it in the next few days, because there's something really, really powerful about the mitzvot. Okay, everything that we do, that we think we're connecting to Hashem, if it's not a mitzvah, it actually doesn't necessarily connect with Hashem. Okay, it's like there's also the idea of when you love someone, you think you're doing stuff that he likes, but he doesn't necessarily like them. But you think you're doing something, but the only way to express your love is by doing something that he wants. Okay, so it's the same thing with Hashem. When we do what Hashem wants, that's our actual form of connecting. When we do what we think, oh, it's working for me, where's Hashem over here? Hashem gave us a clear Torah with clear mitzvot, and he told us how to connect to him in a very clear way. Okay, so even if you're connecting completely and you're loving Hashem and you're praying all day, like you're talking and thinking about God all day, it's still within the person having an existence. And in order to receive Hashem Shekhinah, you need to have complete self-nullification. Okay, that's why we need to listen to what Hashem wants. Okay, and as we see it in the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch, and And if we don't do that, we're actually distancing ourselves from Hashem. Like I'm saying, if we don't do the mitzvot, we don't have that connection, we're distancing ourselves. So it's very, very, very important. I hope today you understood why a mitzvah is the actual way of receiving Hashem. That's the way because that's a form of nullification. Next week, we're going to talk further about why specifically mitzvot connect us to Hashem versus learning Torah, learning Hashem's wisdom. We said that that's also a way of connecting to Hashem, but we're going to compare to that and intensify the importance of a mitzvah. Okay. Oh, it's not next week. One second.
Next week it's Rosh Chodesh.